live in the dungeon. This is the Dream Warrior Review. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Strawn.
Do you hear that noise? I love how this opened, the deathbed. It was like this, just a black screen with like something eating. Crunch,
crunch. And then we're behind the painting, right? And we have no idea what any of that is.
And you have this weird voice saying, I've been trapped behind. Wait, that sounds like Dracula. That's not really how he talked. It was more of a dramatic actor.
I've been imprisoned behind my painting in this limbo for 60 years now since my death.
I've been trapped behind this painting.
It was a Vincent Price copy.
Years.
It was a Vincent Price meter. Yeah.
If Vincent Price was in this,
yeah.
If this was a Roger Corman production, I would have loved it. But I still like this one. I think
this is one of the most amazing films, and
should we say what it is?
Yeah, well, let's see. Yeah, look. Okay, go ahead, read it.
This is a movie that was actually shot in 1972. 1977 was when it was actually printed. They shot it in 1972. They started
printed in 77, and then they released it.
I saw that they started shooting in 1972. They printed it in 1977, and then it actually wasn't released until 2003 because the guy that directed it saw online that people were talking about it and they were getting bootlegs of it, so he decided to release it for real. A year after, he made another movie called Deathbed, 2002, straight to video thing that was similar but different. I'll get to that later.
Okay,
but anyway,
you get to that later.
This is called Deathbed, the bed that eats.
A bed possessed by a demon spirit consumes its users alive.
I have known that this film has been around since, all through the 80s. There was rumors of it. I mean, people had seen it here and there off of the bootleg copies, and it just always stood out for me just as a great title. I mean, it ranks up there with Sharknado.
Yeah.
Because with the title, what does it matter what the film's like, right?
Well, this is even better because it could mean more than one thing.
Yeah.
And it actually did in this movie.
It did.
Because the guy that was trapped behind the painting was on his deathbed.
Right. It was, and it met every expectation. It is the thing that it's, you know what this is? This is a barn find, right? This is like this, like finding a 1968 Camaro that has been locked away in a barn, with 5,000 miles.
Right.
And all of a sudden you open up and go, oh my God, look at it. You don't even want to clean it up. You see what I'm saying?
Well, it's crystal clean already. Like, the bed was perfectly clean. The sheets were crisp. Did you notice that? But did you notice the actor in this? There was one actor that's still acting to this day.
You're kidding me.
I think. And he was actually, I recognized him. I was like, wait a minute, I know this guy. So I had to look it up, and he actually was in a lot of things after this. William Russ.
Oh, yeah, William Russ, yeah.
Yeah, right. But it took me a minute to figure out who he was.
How come every time little sister, the world's oldest runaway, leaves home, I have to go out and find her?
So terrible in this. Well,
he was great at looking at those hands.
Well, yeah, porn stash. And I don't even know where to start with this one.
So I actually do, what did I write down? I would describe this as maybe an art film, a student art film, but a little bit better.
Yeah, this is, you know what?
There were some really artistic scenes in this. Like,
oh, yeah.
Totally.
There was a
fluid with apples floating in it. Like, it was very fleeny, yes.
Well, let's put it this way. The bed did actually manage to eat chicken.
And wine. And swallow wine.
And put back into the bucket. It put the chicken, the bone back into the bucket.
I want to know how it swallowed the wine, like gulp. Gulp. And then it was yawning and eating and burping
and the thing is it could swallow people at the same time that it could swallow.
And there's this weird yellow
bubbling
stuff.
kind of foaming, which was the old baking soda, food coloring, and vinegar.
Why'd they use yellow though?
They were just trying to be gross, and gross is exactly what worked there. And the great thing about it is they were trying to develop a visual with the bed. So they only made the bed about 3 inches thick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that when something goes into the bed and goes down, then it goes into this mystical place, which they used a tank, essentially.
Yeah.
And lit it yellow, and it's just...
It had bubbles.
It had bubbles.
It was very amateurish, but... And the acting was so bad, and it was weird music. The sound effects were really loud, like more louder than...
The sound effects...
I thought it was so good.
There was no... Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was good, even though I'm saying all these bad things about it.
No, that's right. That's exactly what you have to do to this film. All these things that we are going to say sound awful, but they make a whole...
Make the charm. It's like campy, I guess.
It is way campy. Yeah. It's not... And you know what? It's kind of that unintentional campy. I mean...
Did you think there were too many narrators? Why did they have the woman... Or two?
Oh, I don't know why they did anything. Are you kidding narrating? Me?
A gangster owned this mansion years ago. One day he just disappeared, probably at the bottom of some river. A friend of mine, she's a lawyer, is liquidating what's left of his estate. That's how I got permission to use the place. I was telling her how I wanted to get out of the city, and she offered me the use of it. She's never seen it herself, but she said it was once quite the place. Incredible.
I should have told them to turn around and take me back home, but I was too afraid to. All they did was to look at each other so strangely. I don't know why I got so upset, but after a while I felt like I just had to get out, and I couldn't. I couldn't get out.
Well,
I was confused.
Listen, at what point do you actually get...
I should jump out of the car. I don't know why I'm not jumping out. But I was like, anyway.
The bed winds up outdoors in a sequence that...
Well, it was a demonic bed. It has powers. It was breaking the house apart, too.
It can't get out of there. It has to have somebody... It has to mind control somebody to get it out of there.
Oh. Well, how did it get outside?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Oh. Good point.
Yeah, thank you.
See, this movie's so confusing that
I didn't even
think about that.
It is incredibly confusing. But
there weren't really any special effects in this movie.
No. I mean, they burned it. I mean, it doesn't affect anything. They burnt the bed at one point, but you did have the girl sitting in a coffin. All the way through.
Yeah. The coolest effect was the mirror cracking, which is pretty easy to do.
Yeah, that was.
But still,
yeah.
And the clothes coming off of the girl. I mean, of course, I appreciated that one.
Yeah, of course you did. Yeah. And by the way, there was
reminded me of the Entity.
There was a lot of clothes that came off of a lot of women.
It was almost like those 70s sexploitation movies.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of the first thought I had.
Yeah,
it was kind of creepy in that way.
It was
there was no point.
The cross between a porno, a horror film, and a Fellini film.
And there was one woman that didn't get naked, which would have made no sense if she did. The one that was getting dragged across the floor.
Oh, right.
It just wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I was waiting for them to figure out a way to get her naked or something.
Yeah, but you know what? It was funny is because that is the scene where the sheet goes off the bed, crawls across the room, and lassos her and pulls her back into the bed, which is... I wondered about that because I thought, well, a bed only has so many, it has only so many moves.
Right.
See what I'm saying? Bed's got a couple of moves, but it needs to work with
within
team.
the physics
It's a team.
of the bed.
It's got to be a team. But the guy behind the painting in the corner.
Oh, he was actually the best actor. And he didn't really do much. But
he didn't do anything.
His voice was great, though.
Yeah.
And the way he kind of looked sad was good.
Do you know if it was the same person? You don't, do you?
The guy behind the thing was the same person? Probably not.
No, probably not. I don't think it was his voice. But, he just kind of sits in there, curled up, and is basically a witness to all this craziness. And
somehow he's collecting jewelry. How's he doing that?
The gifts you give to me. The rings and other jewelry of the victims you've gobbled up before my eyes. One of these rings may contain the answer.
The bed's giving him jewelry.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe they're lovers.
I'm sorry. Did you want the physics of it? Did you actually want the science behind it? Because there is no science behind any of this.
There's a good scene with a necklace sawing a neck. But there's no blood or anything. Yeah. That was very strange. But anyway.
Yeah, the whole middle...
and the gunshots.
There was...
or lack of.
Lack of.
Well, this one guy was shooting into the bed.
Right. He was shooting, and all he
But
would
the gun wasn't going
click.
off. He was just doing this.
Yeah, he was
just sound effects.
Yeah, and then the sound effects
the second guy.
And then the second guy did the same thing, and there were no sound effects. Yeah, at that point. And you know what? What I figured out is... he didn't load it with sound effects. See, the first guy went into it, but he had loaded 6 sound effects into it, right? But then when the other guy got the gun, he was shooting without sound effects because they hadn't loaded it with sound effects.
Right.
See, you know how that goes, right?
There's an amazing shot of Pepto-Bismol.
Now, what? There was the funniest thing is right in the middle of it. All of a sudden, you just see Pepto-Bismol floating in there, and you go like, "What the hell?" I mean,
I guess he was feeling sick about
yeah.
something
Well,
he ate.
it's like,
Was he feeling
well, look at what he was eating. Jeez. I mean, have your wine.
But the demon in the bed, the demon bed, or whatever you want to call it, had feelings because he was in love with this woman.
Right.
That's why all this stuff happened.
Right.
Yes. And I really like William Rust when he put his hands in the bed and then he pulls them out and they're super clean. Like and he's just looking at
that
him.
was the finest. That was one of the greatest moments. Was when he pulls his hand out and his hands are just skeletons now.
There's no flesh left. There's hardly any blood. It's almost like a surgical operation.
Right?
Yeah. And you can tell it's one of those
and then they turn around
skeletons.
and they use the skeleton hands to start a fire later on.
And you can see the little connectors from the skeleton.
the little spring
the metal
connectors.
things.
Yeah, little metal, yeah. Oh boy, there are just so many amazing things in this film. You just have to watch it because
it had a really weird ending.
Our description, I didn't know.
The fire was a little dangerous, I thought, but anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed to me like the fire outside.
Yeah.
It seemed like they would have been in danger of starting a huge fire.
Oh, I'm so sure that they had professionals involved.
And I made this comment when I apologized to Peter Jackson because I said he had to have been on drugs when he did some of his early movies.
Right.
But
nowhere
this
near
guy,
I
don't know what he was doing. So the interesting thing is
this guy was high on the 70s is what he was.
This director, George Barry, he actually, in 2002, I was just looking at his profile on IMDb. So he did Deathbed, The Bed That Eats, 1977, which is one we were talking about, which was released in 2003. But then I noticed that there was this movie called Deathbed, all one word, from 2002. And it's about this couple that move into this apartment. And he was apparently the writer. He wrote it based on the 1977 film, but it's really not. So it's this couple that moves into this apartment, and they find this room in the back that there's no key to it.
Yeah.
But some weird things start happening, like smoke comes through the door and stuff. So they go investigate, and they find this pretty brass bed back there. So of course they pull it into their apartment and they start using it. And one's an illustrator for a children's book, so she's drawing like the bed for the children's books, and her husband's a photographer. So all these horrible things happen, and they start fighting with each other, and then the bed, of course, attacks them.
Right. Of course.
Or no, it's not the bed. It's the ghost that's attached to the bed.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so it's a little twist.
Yeah, because you don't want to do that film again.
And it was a woman that was murdered in the 1920s in some horrible sex thing. It's so bad that I would not recommend seeing it.
Look, I'm thinking that you and I that are championing this incredible film.
Yes. So I'm saying 2002, avoid it, but see the early one.
Do the 19.
That's my point.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have to do the 19.
But I actually endured the pain of watching this one too. So
yeah, well, you took one for the team.
Yes, I did. And actually, I found it. You know how in some, I won't mention what websites, but
Right.
I can't remember what website it was, but it was one of those websites that I could actually speed it up like 2 times. So I was speeding it up.
Oh, yeah, right. So you could get through it in about 20 minutes, yeah.
It was actually almost, how long was it? It wasn't that long. Anyway, it was like
How long was this? How long was Deathbed?
Deathbed 2002 was an hour 20, so I watched that in about 50 minutes or so.
Oh, okay.
The 1977 one was actually, it feels like it was shorter. Hour and 17.
Hour 17, yeah. There you go. That's kind of getting near my sweet spot.
And it's bizarre that it's listed on IMDb as released in 2010, but everything's confusing about this movie, including the release date.
There is absolutely nothing about this movie that's normal, but at the same time, it's incredibly charming. It'll just make you laugh. This is that one film that when you hear about a camp film because it was bad, but they intended to go in the right direction and so forth. This is such a great period piece of that look.
It isn't quite as good as Strays, but
why Strays? Why do you hold Strays up? I mean,
maybe that's not the best example.
This is so much better than Teen Wolf. Ooh,
no.
Nailed him to the cross.
If this had Michael J. Fox in it, this
it would have been amazing. Well, no, that's true. You know what? I am totally 100% down with that.
And George Barry should have had Roger Corman direct this.
Yes.
In fact, why not? He's still around.
Yes, sure.
Why not do a remake?
Woo!
So I'm gonna rate this as a movie.
Yeah.
In general, probably pretty low, like 2. But I enjoyed it, so I would rate it actually 3.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it you know what? I'm right there with you. I was gonna say 3.5 because there's nothing out there like it.
No, it's
nothing
it's
out
worth
there
watching.
like it.
I think
it's totally worth
if you like
watching.
weird things. Okay,
Yeah.
I compare it more to the guy with the pencil mustache, John Waters, like one of his movies.
You know what? That's a good parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because
if you like that kind of movie, you'd really like this.
Yeah. A cross between Fellini and John Waters. Yeah, sure. Yeah, and that's about it.
Thanks for joining us on the Dream Warrior Review podcast. Don't forget to tell your friends about us, follow us, and, of course, like us. We can be found on Podbean, which is an amazing app, YouTube, Stitcher, Alexa on any pod, iTunes, Google Play. We're on Twitter as well, at DW Review, and, of course, Facebook. You can find us there. You can also email us at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com.